This is weird because I'm leading the announcements now, and Andrew has to sit quietly by and wait for me to be done. But we are joined tonight by Andrew Harvey. Those of you that have come to Stars games, you see him up in the booth with Pete, or with Peyton, and Pete somewhere. And then those of you that don't get to come for the games, you'll notice that he's the guy whose voice you're hearing more often than not talking about the game. And we're really excited to have him here. We're waiting for Randy, who is supposed to come on at some point. So we may have a guest appearance in a few minutes here. But Andrew, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. See, this is not really my thing. I should hand this off.
No, but Nick, it's good though, because this is a nice change up, and this is the acceptable division of labor. Because if we were to try to put me in the 10 jersey and trot me out there to see if I could score a goal, I don't think it would go well. So let's stick to you having a go at hosting and keep me up in the booth full time when the season rolls around.
Well, listen, we don't get to hear your comments because we're on the field, but we do get to watch them later, and we do get to hear the analysis. And I want to talk to you a little bit about kind of the Stars and how you got into it, and then talk to you a little bit about your process and the homework you do and what you do and don't do and how you know the players and all that. So starting off with, do you do homework? Do you watch video? Do you have a cheat sheet? What's your setup when you're on game day? You walk in the building, you got your setup. What does it look like?
Sure. Yeah. So, it all comes back to research, and it all comes back to the availability of what data is available. And honestly, I have to tip my cap to the league here, because they've really done a great job these last couple of years of centralizing, refining the process, and making sure all the box scores and data are available. As well as on the league side, we can go back and watch film and get a sense of who's where. But particularly within the Western Conference, Nick, the nice part at this point is I've been calling these games long enough that you're right, we tend to see these familiar faces, these guys. So it's like, oh yeah, Costa again, sure. And so, there's a level of familiarity there. And the bigger thing is just a lot of close work with Peyton Barons, who is not here today for a very good reason.
He's getting married.
He got married earlier today to his lovely now wife, Isabel. So I wanted to be the first to officially congratulate Peyton. He lucked out. Isabel's fantastic. Congratulations to both of them. But he's also just been a great broadcast partner the last couple of years. It feels very automatic between the two of us. And we just have a call kind of the day before. We go over what the main storylines are. And then if there's anything that we're not certain about, we just check in with the fantastic Pete Richmeyer, who knows everything there is to know about everything.
He does know everything that there is to know about everything. Any data, stats, any of that stuff, he's got it all. He's got that memory bank tapped in tight. I think that the Western Conference in particular, with the way that it's been formatted the last 3 or 4 years, we play the same team 4 or 5 times. At a certain point, that I'm sure the narratives and the storylines start to become maybe not repetitive, but they certainly have a tendency to repeat themselves with the familiar scorers and the familiar faces. You just mentioned Costa, who just moved over to San Diego. Were you shocked by that?
Anytime a high-quality player winds up over at San Diego, I can't say that I'm too surprised. They do seem to have a knack for attracting and retaining top talent around this league. So, not shocked to say the least, but it's another big get for them. It's a young guy who's probably got a long, productive career in front of him, and more good work for the Stars to do in terms of trying to knock San Diego off their roost.
Randy McNair.
Yes, sir.
There you are.
I tried to show up the players and show up on time, but I couldn't do it. Technology is killing me right now.
I have one quick interjection here, which is, Nick, how many times have the players been told that they've got to be in the tunnel by a certain time because we got to get through this roster lineup read?
Listen,
and we got to hit national.
I'm going to tell you the truth. All right, here's the real story. The real story is we intentionally delay it to make sure that we don't get out there at a certain time, because every time we get, guys, got to get out. You got like 1 minute. We get out there. We stand there. We're just sitting there cold. There's nothing to do. And then eventually somebody says, all right, line up. And it's like, no, you know what? You guys can wait on us for a few minutes now. And we're coming out when we're good and ready. But I mean, that used to be the thing. Some teams used to. I remember in Milwaukee we played against the Rochester Lancers one time, and they had an exit tunnel which was a single file exit tunnel, single file, and they plopped us in this single file, so you couldn't turn around. Right, once you're in, you're in, and we sat in there for about 25 minutes.
They cooked you.
And it was like Soccer Sam was announcing the physio. He was announcing the public address announce. Everybody in the stadium got announced, and we were sitting in there, couldn't move. And I'm like kind of claustrophobic, so I was losing it. So whenever someone's like, "Get out there," we're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll be out there in a few minutes."
Well, this could turn into a poker game in the future now that we know the secret. So
That's right.
I guess it's our next move. We might need to push the schedule back secretly.
Randy, thanks for coming on. Obviously, we're talking about the Stars team between yourself, Andrew, Peyton, who Andrew beat us to the punch by celebrating and congratulating him for his wedding. He got married today, and Pete, who will have to get on here at some point as well. But we were just kind of going through the game day process, and Andrew was talking about his notes and Peyton and maybe talk about your process as we get into things too. Is there a specific Randy McNair process as we get into game day, and how do you prepare for a game?
Oh man, well, I'll tell you this. Ever since last season, the process for me became a whole lot easier, all thanks to Pete Richmeyer. I'm just public address announcing right now, and before I was doing the game entertainment. I was assisting Andrew and Peyton with the broadcast. I was also in charge of directing during the game. I was in charge of directing the stream, making sure that was going smooth, all while I had to announce goals and fouls and keep my attention on the game. So this last year was a lot less prep. And thanks to Pete stepping in and taking some of those duties, and Andrew's taking over the broadcast duties and producing and writing that and whatnot. So now it's make sure I know the opposing players' names. I'll show up, I'll go over it with Andrew, and we'll talk about the names, what we think. Sometimes the names aren't in the game notes, and we got to put our heads together.
Do you have to go down and name check how to pronounce? Is that a thing you have to go do? You have to go down and make sure you pronounce them a certain way?
If me and Andrew can't, if we're not sure, if I have time, which now I will have a lot of time to do this, I will go down and I'll catch a coach or a trainer, and I'll ask them about it, and of course share that with Andrew or vice versa. Hey, this is this guy's name. So, man, how am I at 10% battery life already? Gee,
you've only been on for 2 minutes.
Listen, Randy's here for a good time, not a long time.
It's fine. Hey, celebrities only pop their heads in. You know, it's like a fashionably late with a celebrity appearance. Really quick for the comment section, Greg. We are actually not going to be announcing any signings today. We're going to announce them on Monday night to our season ticket members, and on Tuesday they will be broadcast to the fans publicly. So, no names or signings or anything are going to be shared tonight. So sorry, just wanted to pop that in there. But sorry, Greg. Yeah. Okay, so we're on game day. You guys have got your process done. And by the way, I meant to tell Andrew, I haven't told you this, but I did tell Pete this, that the other day ShoWare gave us some feedback about your performance this year, and they said it was easily the best year of working with the Tacoma Stars since they've started, in terms of how easy it was, in terms of how on top of it you guys all were, that everybody had their own bit, and that the AV part was really, really well done. So I wanted to send that to you. I let Pete know as well. But that's awesome. So that's a big deal. Okay, so now the players are late, right? You're trying to announce our names as we're going out there. The roster is sent in with Evan McNeely's handwriting, which, who knows what it says half the time. It could be anything. Adam Becker's got scribble on top of it. And did you guys ever have a hard time reading our roster or no?
I think it mostly comes down to the visitors, because we know who we are. I always get worried about the visitors because I don't know who they are. Yeah, I go through the roster, but when it comes down to it, and you need to make sure that you do your job right, and you get that roster, and it's like, oh man, who is this guy? And you got to look for numbers, and you got to look at their roster, Andrew, what do you say?
Yeah, the good news generally is that the number is legible at least, and since we can refer back to the master roster, at least we theoretically know who's supposed to be wearing that jersey. I won't lie, the way the broadcast timing works out, the first time that I'm going to have to know someone's name is after they've come onto the field and Randy has said, for Empire Strikers, number 24, Ben Johnson or whoever. So if there is ever a last minute, like, wait, we only have 12 here on this game day roster, we're short a couple, then we have a last ditch effort to fill it in. But for the most part, thankfully, everything has been where it needs to be, and we very seldom have a sort of a last minute scramble, as it were.
Okay, so now we're talking about the scramble. Give us the worst one you've had so far this last year. What was the biggest mistake? Did you call somebody the wrong number, the wrong name? You had to have had at least one. I mean, come on. I miss shootouts. People miss back post tap-ins. You got to have a miss somewhere. Come on.
I'm trying to, and not to fluff myself out. I'm sure I misidentified someone on a quick goal. It's always the ones that happen right after restarts. Those are the riskiest because you didn't have enough time to see if there was a line change. So I'm sure I must have misattributed at least one goal last season. I try really hard not to because it's the most critical part of the information. But in terms of scramble and close call, it's not from this past season, but I do have one story I can share, and Randy can probably remember this from when he was running everything a few years ago. I got stuck in traffic coming to the ShoWare Center. Bad traffic. And I think this might have been the first game I ever called with Peyton. And traffic atrocious. So I scream into the parking lot of the ShoWare Center, whip the car around the back, throw it in park, run up the stairs, get to the broadcast booth, walk in, shake Peyton's hand, and go, "Hey, I'm Andrew. Really looking forward to working with you." Put the headset on, and pretty much in 3, 2, and we're live here from the Accesso ShoWare Center. That was the start of the relationship. And the funny thing? I'm never less than 3 hours early for every match we do ever since then, because I never want to have that experience again.
Yeah, I think when I signed for the Stars, whatever that was, Darren used to send out like notes about Friday night games. He'd be like, "Hey, it's a Friday night. Just in case you guys aren't familiar, leave your home an extra whatever to make sure you're not late, because on Friday night you might get stuck in a weird traffic situation. Sort it out." And we were like, yeah, whatever. And there's always one guy. There's always one guy who like comes piping in right as we're leaving the warm-ups, like, and it's like, yeah, sure, let's go. There's always one. Randy, massive mistake this last year. Come on.
Ooh, this last year?
You guys can't tell me like, oh, I can't believe, I'm not sure if I made a mistake. Come on.
I can't pinpoint one, but I know that I've announced someone either someone that maybe wasn't part of the assist or maybe even a goal. Maybe I've announced the wrong player.
This year, Jamel Cox, there was a game he didn't get announced at all.
He didn't get announced at all.
He didn't get announced at all.
I remember Randy,
because of
Randy's
all the
trying
guys,
to keep Juice humble. That's all. He's just making sure
say,
he doesn't get.
Of all the guys that would like, laugh it off or kind of look serious about it, Juice was the guy, and he's not one to maybe like laugh it off and be like, ha 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 ha. And we were all laughing, and he was like, "What the hell?" I didn't. And we were
sometimes,
like, "It's okay. The roster, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine."
Sometimes it's hard to see, to catch that, or, we have to go through a chain of command because we have a statistician, and you don't want to conflict with. I don't want to go rogue, and there's just a process that has to be played out. And
Pete says that was the game he filled in for you. It wasn't your fault.
Thanks for taking the heat, Pete. I'll tell you this, and this is for the fans watching. There's a name, and there's another name that's probably creeping up on this that I mispronounced for the longest time. And I'm wondering if the fans, this is going to be like diehard fans who like sit there in the seats and like listen to every single word I say. But there's no name, and maybe you might know this, Nick, that I mispronounced for some time. And I think it's a common mispronounced name.
I have a guess, but I'm going to see if somebody puts it into the comments.
Yeah,
But now
I'm
the
curious.
problem is, Randy, what if the comments come pouring in and there's like 30 different names?
Watch all the comments just say Nick Perera. You've actually been saying it wrong.
I set myself up. I got a question. Nick, you don't roll your R's in your last name, do you? Like,
No.
Your mom doesn't?
No.
Okay.
So my dad's from Spain, Nick Peters. My dad's from Spain, and I remember when I was in college, I was, I don't know. I do you guys ever watch that cooking show with Giada? And I don't remember her last name.
I used to
Okay.
watch that back in the day.
It used to be really like irksome that she would be speaking in this highly American accent, then she'd be like Parmigiana, right? And so I was like, "Hi, this is Nick Perera," and I didn't want to be like, "Hi, this is Nicolas Pereira." I was like, that doesn't sound really, I don't know. So
those names are hard to announce too, like Alex Caceres. And I might not even. That's just.
That was my guess. That was gonna be my guess.
He is probably creeping up on this name though, so I'll give you the answer. It's actually for the longest time, for like 3 years, I called him Mike Ramos, but it's actually Ramos, right?
I don't know. I call him Ramos half the time too.
Well, someone finally corrected me, but that's.
Wayne Dan says Logan Jones, that you're getting that one right.
Oh, Wayne.
So my dad called me and goes, "Nick, we have to have a conversation about the way you're pronouncing your name on your voicemail, because it just sounds like an American guy saying Perera." And I was like, "Well, Dad, we had to have like a whole discussion around it." So names are hard. I mean, names are hard. Names are tough. But yeah, no, I was gonna guess, because I would say Caceres.
Caceres. That's probably the way you say it then. Caceres.
Caceres. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, we fortunately for us, the players, we don't really know 95% of the stuff that's being said anyway, because you're kind of in that zone. You're not really paying attention.
Yeah.
Ooh, Pete Richmeyer's got a good one. Slavisa Ubi Parapovic. But that one, he was a rookie when I was a rookie, so I have that one down. But some of the names are very, very hard. And you know what I find is difficult with the players in the league is, because the league is, we don't see some teams, right? Then all of a sudden you get a team that you haven't seen before, and it's like a very prominent player that's on the ball a lot, and you're kind of like, ooh, how do I got to make sure I get the name just so, because you don't want to sound like an idiot on the air saying the same name wrong 400 times, right? But anyway, yeah, I have a couple questions for you guys that we're gonna have you guys answer. Before I ask the questions, I'm gonna repeat it. It's Monday night at 7 p.m. We're gonna have our season ticket holder event. Now, I want to clarify, because we put out this video about this. If you are not a season ticket member, that's fine. You got to come, but you got to put your deposit down. If you're not going to put your deposit down and you just want to come, there'll be a cover at the door to come be part of the event, because we don't want to keep people away. But if you do come and you do pay the cover and you do get a season deposit, we're just going to refund you whatever that was that you paid at the door, and you're part of the season ticket membership. So we want people to come down. There's going to be raffles. There's going to be all kinds of fun stuff. And then we'll end with an inter squad scrimmage with the team. The players have already been put out there, and we're actually going to have the fans on Monday night pick the lineups. We're going to put them on a piece of paper and have people pick and put them on the teams they want to see. So it's going to be a lot of fun. 7 p.m. at the Tacoma Soccer Center on Monday night. Okay, both of you guys, and we can go. First off, Randy, is your battery about to die?
It probably is. So if I go, I'm gone. I tried. Okay. I really did try.
Okay. Well, then we'll start with you, Randy. Andrew, since your battery is not dying, we'll start with Randy. Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. You just rattle off the best you can. Unsung hero of the year on the Stars. Pete Richmeyer doesn't count, because we've now sung his praises 4 times.
Unsung hero.
Who's a guy that shows up and does an amazing job with the organization that maybe doesn't get his name called out?
Well, I'll tell you one guy that we picked up, and he's learning the game, that I had my eye on all year, and that's Felipe Sousa. And it's also a name I love to say. I love to announce. But that guy plays his heart out, and he's so fast, and he is so tough. That guy is on the turf more than any other player that I know. And I think Felipe definitely caught my eye all season long. It was fun watching Felipe.
Andrew, different answer. You got to
You
give a
know,
different answer.
I'm gonna echo what Wayne Dan just threw in the comments, and for me, it's Tyler John. I mean, Tyler was just an absolute dog last year, and you know, anytime you need a guy who needs to get stuck in and come up with a big stop defensively, or just try to bust something open up top, he just was pure hustle every minute he was out there, and it was really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story about both those guys. So Tyler, I'll start with Tyler. We did the beep test early on in the season, right? And sort of day 2 of preseason. And of course, I was nowhere near even the top, maybe, I don't know how many guys did 25. I was nowhere near the top 20. But Tyler was flying. I mean, he smashed everyone's score by so long. Him and Adrian were the last 2 guys kind of hanging in there, and they were bantering back between the 2 of them. They know each other, have for some time. And I actually had my money on somebody else because I didn't know Tyler at the time was going to be as mentally dogged as he is, and he smashed it. He crushed it. And Felipe is a guy who we actually hilariously didn't pick him up in a tryout. I don't know if you guys know this story. He came to us with a tryout. We didn't pick him up, and then sort of 3 or 4 weeks later, we were like, well, we need a player. Should we just call that one kid that came out to try out that one time? And it was Felipe, and he was unbelievable. We actually, in the game that he came, he got thrown into a tryout match at Starfire, actually, in an inner squad, and he scored a goal, but he also handed the ball away in the back in a horrific turnover in the back right at the beginning of one of his shifts. And we were all kind of like, oh, man, it's going to take too long to teach this kid the game. And then he started playing with us, and he was lights out. I mean, both those guys, Tyler and Felipe, both of them have been absolutely lights out. And they're super fun to play with. They're super fun to watch. And anytime someone's moving that fast, it's just like exciting, right? You're like drawn like a moth to the flame of just watching them fly around. Okay, next question. Those were both great answers. Great answers. Your favorite moment of the season to call, Randy. Your favorite goal to announce. Favorite player to announce. Did you have a moment that was like, this is the one that was like a big one?
Yeah, but it's all because of the flow. You know how towards the end of the game, we'll try to get the Tacoma Stars chant going. I say Tacoma, and the fans always respond Stars. So there is one where we had rolled through it like 4 or 5 times, and then I finally did my last one, and my last one's always long. It's like Tacoma, and right as I was about to close it out, you guys scored. And usually when you guys score, I go Stars, 3rd or 4th or 5th, however goal, whatever it is, 5th goal scored by. Well, this one I just rolled in from Tacoma goal, and it just all kind of rolled smooth. It was kind of a cool moment.
That is awesome, and it probably doesn't happen very often that they all kind of combines to that moment anyway.
No, not at all.
Andrew, favorite moment to call? Was there a moment in the season that you were like, wow, this one was the call?
Yeah, hands down. I don't know if you guys have heard of a guy named Nick Perera, but he's a pretty good player, and he managed to become the 2nd player in league history to get his 400th career point this year. And Nick, I got to tell, right, like anytime you start a game close to that as a broadcaster, you're constantly just running the math, like don't screw up, don't miss it, don't screw up, make sure, like if the ball comes near Nick Perera, we got to be locked into that. And I am pleased to say I am very seldom happy with one of my calls when I go back and listen to it. But the one that got you to 400, I think did the moment justice, and I hope it can be a small footnote within the great achievement that is your legacy. So that was definitely the moment of the year for me.
Well, I appreciate that. I watched it, and I'm the only part that I'm bummed on. Your call is fantastic. Is that the camera pans to me, and in the moment, my wife laughed at me about it. I was trying to like point at all the fans and be like, it's all for you guys. I'm kind of doing one of these, right? And it kind of looks like I'm doing like a like a rodeo situation. I'm trying to like tell everyone like, hey, it's for you guys, for you. But the camera only catches me going like this. And then it cuts. And so I was like, oh man, no one's gonna know what I'm saying. I was trying to be like, it's 400. It was the end of the game. Like, you guys. It didn't quite work out the way I wanted to. But yeah, it was a very cool moment and a very cool call. And I'm really glad because you say you're locked into me in that game, but try being at 399 and not knowing whether you're going to get it that game and being like, God, I got to get it just so I don't have to hear another week's worth of conversation. And it was right at the end of the game.
Let me ask you this: do players think about that kind of stuff? Like, I don't want to. We're going on the road.
No.
Like, is there talk about, like, should I save it for home, or do you just play? And if it has road, you celebrate with your teammates in front of the other fans.
I mean, I'll tell you why. For me, it was a tough one. So I went to the World Cup in 2019 in Paraguay with the beach national team, and I was there. My parents were there, and I was on 99 international goals after the first game. So I got 2 in the first game. I came in at 97. I got 2 in the first game, and I had 2 more group games. So statistically, you'd go, he's going to hit 100, right? Well, I went blanked out in the next 2 games, zeroed out. My parents had signs with 100 goals, the whole thing. And so I had this moment where, and in beach soccer, we don't have that many trips. So for me to wait to get 100, I had to wait 2 full years. So I was like, in that Stars game, I'm at 399. I got to get to 400 because I just don't want to have to think about it. I don't want to have an announcer ask me, well, you're at 399. Are you going to get 400? Like I just didn't even want that situation. So I was like, I got to get it. I got to get it over with as fast as possible. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to move past it. So that was my whole experience. And again, the beach soccer one, now we've moved past and we're fine. But I had to sit from 2019 to 2021 because if you'll remember in 2020, right after there wasn't a whole lot of soccer to be played. So I kind of had to sit for 2 years on 99. And now I'm at what happened here? Did you guys lose me?
No, we still have you. Your picture dropped out. See, we thought Randy was going to be the one to cut away, but
yeah, but I'm sitting in the same spot I've been this whole time.
I'm just waiting for it to happen. You know, when you're driving on empty and you have 0 miles left on the gas tank, when you're just sitting there wondering how far you can go, that's where I'm sitting at battery.
You know, Rand, I will tell you, there's a video from a pair of comedians. I think they're based in Australia. Don't quote me on that, but they drive a car on empty to see how far they can wind up going. And they wound up going like 115 miles. So they were going, I guess it wasn't that big a deal. But the good news is we got Nick back. So.
I'm back. Once a show, you just got to drop off to make sure people are paying attention. Okay, so we had the favorite moment to call. Now, I want to throw out kind of a new one, but favorite Stars memory of like specific to you, maybe not to the org, but to you, like a moment in your mind. Maybe Randy, you go first in case your battery pops off. But a moment that like sticks out in your memory is something that really special.
I think I share it with the rest of the fans, and that was Ramos, and his with just seconds left, and the celebration that ensued on the field, and him going over to the glass and celebrating with the fans, and that was ingrained in my memory.
I was there for it. 2014.
Yeah.
I was there. I was wearing the wrong shirt, but I was there.
Yeah, that was just super cool, and the shower was just so loud. I'll always remember that.
Mr. Harvey?
I think from a Stars side, it's every time there's a win against San Diego, and was it the 2019-2020 season before it got suspended? San Diego had been on one of their unstoppable tears. They hadn't lost all year, and then you guys hung an L on them at the ShoWare Center. And I can't remember if that was the year in particular, but I remember that was the scenario, and like just the whole house came down.
That was Monterey. I think that was Monterey. They came in 10-0. That was
might have been, but I feel so strongly that there was one that you did that with San Diego. But right?
That was my first year when I was coaching. My first year as a coach in San Diego. My first ever game as a head coach was in San Diego, and they were like 7 or 8-0, and we went and beat them. But the one that I remember that's pretty similar is we played Monterey before the COVID season got canceled.
Right.
And
And
we
they were
beat
great
them.
that year.
They were unbelievable. They were 10 or 11-0, and we came in and we beat them. And Ramos had a huge goal at the end of that game as well, to send it. But yeah, I agree. Wins against San Diego are very few and far between, but when they do come, they're usually pretty sweet. Were you guys?
You know, if you were to ask me the one favorite game I watched online, be when Waltman went to San Diego.
That's the one. My first game as a head coach, where Danny Waltman went off and made I don't know how many saves, and Adam West hit 2 bombs to win the game.
Westy.
Yeah, that was incredible. It was one of those ones where Darren left and he was like going to leave, and so I took over, and the timeline of it was pretty narrow, and so we tried to prepare as best we could, and it's like one of those ones where I probably should have just retired after that weekend, because we went to San Diego. We beat San Diego away, and then we beat Ontario away the next night. And I should have just been like, listen, it's not going to get any better. I'm done, guys. I'm 2-0, 100%. Thanks very much. I'm out of here. But of course,
Ran up into the sunset.
Got to stay around for the pain. And in Stars form, this last year we made the playoffs in the last squeaking game, and that year we also made the playoffs in the last squeaking game. I have an interview with you, Nick and Neil. It's true. We did do an interview, Greg, we did have an interview there on the floor before the world shut down. Okay, last question for you guys, Andrew and Randy, and then I'll let you guys talk about whatever you want to talk about. But usually we cap it at 30-some minutes, and we're at 32 because the conversation's been compelling. But the last question I would ask is, speak to maybe the culture of the team and the culture of the club, a little bit about like what makes this club special, because I have my reasons of why I think it's special. And Randy, you've been here far longer than I, so maybe you can go first. But is there a reason that this club is special? Because I think there is, for me.
Man, there's quite a few things that stick out to me, and I'll be honest, I haven't paid as much attention to soccer as I have since 2015 when I joined the Stars, and Darren, he taught me so much about the game. Darren Sawatsky, just doing coach's show interviews with him, we talked before the games. I learned so much about this game from Darren, and I'm still learning to this day. But you can't beat the local aspect of it. The fact that Lane brought them back after all these years is really special. The fans that come out, man, every home game they tune in on the road. That is an incredible aspect to me. How much they love you guys and love watching the game, and they just love cheering for the Stars. And I absolutely love that, how they just come out game in and game out. And then of course you got the interaction with the fans. You guys give it back to them after the game. The kids are out, stand up there.
We finally lost him, Andrew, right as he was getting to the climax of the conversation, but we finally lost it. It happened.
It did. But, right, it's all of Randy's points are great ones. And I think just to build on what he said, for me, it comes back to this concept of heritage and legacy. Not just for the Stars, where you have fans that come to the Shower Center that have been watching, Tacoma Stars play going back to 1983 with a gap in the middle, sure, but there's people, going back all that way. And I think in addition to that, soccer runs deep. I'm a Seattle native, and out here in the Puget Sound, the Pacific Northwest, it sounds strange, I think, to a lot of people who didn't grow up around here, but you've got this legacy of these great clubs, and even back to the late, 19th century, you had, timber teams, timber company teams organizing and playing against each other against squads from Oregon. So the game's kind of in our DNA out here. And there's just something about arena soccer, it plugs in and it connects with people in a way that it's fast, and the fans are right there close in on the action. I don't know if it's anything like it is for you to play, like it is for me to call. There's not a drug in the world that could match what the MASL brings to the table. And I just think the people who come out and see it recognize that and they go, I want to come back. This is awesome.
Yeah. I think for me, again, all of everything you say for sure, the link to the community, the closeness to the product for the fans, right? Like feeling the fans after a game and their investment in the team and the investment in you and the result and the club be so real and so non-result based, right? Like it's hard to lose games, really hard to lose games. But then when you go on the field after and you have a discussion with a fan who's with you and knows what it feels like to be part of a Tacoma Stars sort of heritage legacy discussion, as you mentioned, and they're in there with you, it's really something. For me, I've played soccer a lot of different places. I think there's something a little bit different about this locker room, and it starts with Darren Sawatsky, or it started for me with Darren Sawatsky, because he really kind of has this, watch the bleep button, but no dickheads policy, right? Like, which is kind of a Sounders thing too, right? I think that comes from there. And there's this group of guys. I remember walking into the locker room and being like, wow, this is a group of like legitimately good human beings that care. And they really care about the result, because I played on teams where guys walk in and out. They don't care, right? They don't care. Randy, you back? No audio, but he's back. Perfect.
And in silhouette too, he looks like he's the whistleblower in some kind of documentary, but they've had to gray him out to protect his identity.
That's right. He's on one of those Dateline shows. But yeah, there's an aspect of it that feels like, I said it one time to the guys years ago. I almost would rather lose in that locker room than win in a different locker room, right? Like you'd rather be involved with those people than be involved with others, even if it means losing versus winning, which is hard for me to say, because when we lose, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anybody. I'm like, can't sleep. But there is something special about it. And there's something special about the people in this league and how much they care, right? They just care. And then, yeah, you add in the fact that arena soccer is like crazy. Randy, is that you? Are you back?
Check. Testing 1 2.
We got him.
You're back.
Jeez.
Perfect time, because I know the Sounders play at 7:30, and I didn't want to get over the line because I knew that you guys were gonna. So it's perfect. When is the roster coming out, Riley? We are working on the roster. We're doing renovations, contract renewals right now as we speak. So we're going to be announcing them bit by bit, and you're going to be up to date through the Stars webpage on every single announcement we have. Big one on Monday night, Tuesday afternoon for those that can't make it. Big player acquisition that we're really excited about, and obviously every single one that we're going to have moving forward. Last things, Randy, since you're back, last thing, any sign off, anything to look forward to? I mean, we're trying to get as much content in the off season to keep the Stars fans engaged moving forward. But yeah, I mean, how excited are you? We're only 5 months away, which is kind of crazy.
Well, I already see, just some exciting things that have been happening so far, and then some of the signings, and I'm super excited about the announcement coming up. So I'm really looking forward to the success that the Stars are going to have on the field this year. And I don't mean to jinx it, but it just seems that there's something different heading into this season. And that's all I really have to say.
Just kind of leave that there. Just drop that and kind of leave it there.
Yeah.
Andrew?
I think one of the other things that helps make this club feel special is that it is never satisfied. Right? It has a great year back in the playoffs where the Stars are supposed to be. Right, this year organizationally, from a game day presentation standpoint and a broadcast perspective, we were very happy with the level we hit. And then the season ended, and we get, okay, great. How can we push that another 20 or 30%? And I think everybody in the organization has that same mindset of just what's the next level? How do we get there? And I'm excited for what the road has in front of us.
Well, that makes 2 or I guess 3 of us now that, I'm really excited for it. And I think I'm a free agent, so we'll see if my contract gets renewed. I got to talk to the guy upstairs and see if he's willing to to sign me back this year.
I'll talk to him.
Fingers crossed.
But as always, guys, we appreciate everything you do. How much effort you put into making sure that every game is broadcast just so every game at the show where feels amazing, Randy, and that the players can get their respect and their love when they get their goals and their moments, and that you guys are there to support us and knowledgeable about what you're talking about. So it's really special to have people like yourselves that are helping out, that are making it something. I think you're right, Andrew. We may not be making millions of dollars, but we certainly try to be as professional as we can in everything we do. So we're really excited about it. I'm excited to come back, and I feel like I'm counting down the minutes to get Stars something, anything. Can we get a game? Can we get an all-star game? Can we get a scrimmage? Can we get a training session? Can we do whatever, anything? Let's do something. Thank you guys for everything you do. You're awesome. And Pete, unsung hero is Pete, but we already sang your praises 3 or 4 times, so you can't be the unsung hero that many times. But Pete, you're the man. And I want to throw a shout out to Brian Hallberg, who has been carrying a tremendously large load on the Stars stuff and really working his tail off to get us to where we are. So those 2 guys, Pete and Brian, you're awesome. And then, obviously the boss who keeps the Stars alive. And by the boss, I mean Lynn Smith, who keeps the boss, who keeps the, right? The real boss. Can we tell the truth?
That is safe to say.
Anyway, you guys, well, thanks so much for tuning in. Andrew and Randy, thanks so much for coming on. We love having you. Anytime you want to come on, you're welcome. Anytime. Andrew, if you want to come on and just work on your routines, you're more than welcome. I'll just pretend to be Peyton and go back and forth with you. You need to work a little bit on the fact that Peyton seems to call out the plays before they happen, and I feel like you're not quite there yet. Peyton's got I feel like Nick's gonna score on a pass from Jamel Cox, and he wishes it out into the world, and then it kind of sometimes happens. So
that's why he's the best analyst in the league. I'm just there to describe what is happening. He's there to explain why it's happening.
There was a couple times that he was throwing things out and that he was dead right, and then there's a couple where he's just hilariously missing the net, like he's throwing up bricks, but every once in a while it hits. I think there's a stat: the more shots you shoot, right, eventually one goes in, right?
Sure.
Isn't there something? What's the Wayne Gretzky quote?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
There you go, Andrew. Start taking some shots. Let's go. Come on. Anyway, thanks you guys. Really looking forward to catching up with you guys in the next one. Monday night, 7 p.m. for all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in, Stars fans. We love you. We'll see you on Monday.
See you, Stars fans. Go Stars.
Take care.
Go Stars.
Go Stars.